Look, the Fallen are studying the reactor.
This is Destiny Rising, and it has finally launched worldwide this August 28th for iOS and Android, and I can tell you it's quite a big thing. It can also be played on a PC emulator for those looking to get closer to that PC experience. It's developed by NetEase, fully licensed by Bungie, and marks the first time the Destiny universe has been built directly for mobile platforms. Can a franchise known for its scope, gunplay, and atmosphere actually make the jump to handheld devices without becoming a watered-down version of itself? After spending time with the game, it's pretty clear that Destiny Rising isn't just chasing the name recognition of Destiny, it seems to actually take the formula seriously, reshaping it in smart ways, and in some cases even pushing further than its console counterpart. It's not a small little game made for mobile and that's it, it's actually its own expanded and unique experience made by a team that wants it to be well and alive for years to come. One big thing to note, which I've mentioned right at the beginning, is this game also has its own official PC emulator called Player, and it all feels so right. Destiny Rising is not a PC game, but this emulator kind of makes it feel like it. If you take a look at both mobile and emulator gameplay, there's some differences we can notice. The emulator is of course better with many things, which is great because there's a lot of PC players probably watching this. On mobile, the game is optimized well, but most phones are capped around 60 frames per second. On PC, through the official emulator, Player, it runs smoother, up to 120 frames per second, and on a big screen the world just looks sharper and more immersive. If you want to try it out on PC, well, it's pretty easy. All you need to do is go to playdestinyrising.com, then click play on PC, and then it'll download the emulator, and there you go, all said and done. Rising is not a port of Destiny 2. Instead of trying to directly replicate everything that exists on PC and console, NetEase has built something that stands on its own while still feeling like it belongs in Bungie's universe. The timeline is set before the events of Destiny 2 in a parallel branch of the story. What that means in practice is freedom. This isn't bound to the ongoing narrative of the main series. It's familiar, but it can take its own creative risks. For newcomers, that's actually a good entry point. You don't need hundreds of hours of backstory to understand what's happening here, but longtime Destiny players will immediately recognize the DNA running through every encounter, every weapon, every environment. The core of the experience, like any Destiny title, is the shooting. Bungie has built a reputation for creating the most satisfying gunplay in the business: Halo, Destiny, Destiny 2, and you can feel that influence here. Weapons have weight and impact, recoil feels deliberate rather than chaotic, and firefights carry that same rhythm of constant movement and precision. What makes Rising unique though is the perspective system. At any point you can swap between first person and third person views. That might sound like a gimmick, but it genuinely changes the flow of combat. First person gives you the classic Destiny immersion and tight shooting feel. Third person gives you spatial awareness, tactical movement, and a way to better appreciate the character animations and skill effects. It's not often that a game manages to do both and have them feel equally viable, but Rising pulls it off. Performance plays a huge role in whether any of that feels good, and here's where NetEase has clearly invested serious resources. On high-end phones, the game supports up to 90 frames per second. On emulators, it can go up to 120. That's a benchmark usually reserved for PC shooters, and the difference is obvious the moment you start chaining headshots or pulling off skill combos. And importantly, controls adapt to how you're playing. Touchscreen controls are smooth and customizable, controller support is baked in, and keyboard and mouse mapping on emulator is polished enough that it doesn't feel like an afterthought. In other words, whether you're on your phone on the train or at your desk with a full setup, the game feels responsive. That level of flexibility isn't common in mobile shooters, and it makes Rising stand out. Visually, Destiny Rising deserves credit. Environments like Avon, Juncture Metro, and the Red Sea Rift showcase a level of environmental detail that rivals PC titles. Lighting effects, particle systems, and texture fidelity are all high enough that you sometimes forget you're playing on a phone. And because the game is optimized for multiple platforms, you're not forced to choose between fidelity and performance. On capable hardware, you get both. That matters not just for spectacle, but for gameplay. When every frame counts in a raid or PvP match, having that consistency is crucial. Then there are the characters. In place of the familiar Titan, Hunter, and Warlock archetypes, Rising introduces a roster of Lightbearers defined by elemental affinities: Void, Solar, and Arc. Each Lightbearer has relics, abilities, and preferred weapon styles, and success often comes from matching the right element to the right mission. It's a subtle but important shift. Instead of thinking of your Guardian as a single static build, you're encouraged to think in terms of team composition, synergy, and adaptability. And here's one of the smartest design choices. All of your characters level up together. That means you're free to experiment with different Lightbearers without being punished by endless grind. In a genre that often forces players into repetitive progression loops, that decision keeps the game accessible without sacrificing depth. Weapons, of course, are the lifeblood of any Destiny experience. Rising introduces a wide array of exotic and mythic tier weapons, and these aren't just statistical upgrades. Many come with modifiers that alter not just damage output, but the way fights unfold. Some exotics might unleash chain lightning effects, others might amplify your relic abilities, and still others combine elemental damage types for devastating combos. The creativity here is what separates this from more grounded shooters. Destiny has always thrived on its sci-fi imagination, and Rising embraces that fully. It's not about realistic guns, it's about weapons that feel unique, otherworldly, and game-changing. And because modifiers stack in interesting ways, players who enjoy experimenting with builds will find plenty of room to theorycraft. Where the game really shows its ambition is in its modes. At launch, you're getting a full campaign that establishes the world and introduces new Lightbearers. Then there are strikes, cooperative PvE missions that feel like condensed versions of raids. 6-player raids themselves are included, complete with mechanics that require coordination and communication. There's PvP for competitive players, a roguelike tower mode for solo challenge runs, and even PvEVP modes, where two teams are racing through objectives while interfering with each other. That range of content is impressive on its own, but it doesn't stop there. The social hub is packed with lighter activities: fishing, sparrow racing, card games, and arcade mini-games. At first glance, those may sound like distractions, but they actually serve a larger purpose. They give players reasons to linger in the hub, to interact, and to make the world feel alive. One of the criticisms of many mobile shooters is that they feel like menus glued to matchmaking systems. Here you get something closer to a living environment. Stepping back, it's worth asking, why should someone invest their time in Destiny Rising? The answer lies in a few key points. First, it's the first fully licensed Destiny title on mobile, which gives it a legitimacy most mobile spin-offs lack. Second, it manages to balance accessibility and depth. The design choices around progression, perspective, and controls mean that both newcomers and veterans can find a foothold without friction. Third, it offers a range of content that extends beyond combat, making it more than just a shooter. It's a portable Destiny ecosystem. And finally, it's technically ambitious. High frame rates, polished control schemes, and console-level visuals are still rare on mobile, and Rising delivers all of them. There's also the broader context to consider. Mobile gaming has exploded over the last decade, but much of it has skewed toward lighter, shorter session titles. Destiny Rising is part of a growing trend of bringing full-scale, high-production value experiences to mobile in ways that respect the platform, while still delivering depth. If you're interested in where mobile gaming is heading, this is a title worth paying attention to. Rising has launched on August 28 on iOS and Android, so of course if you're interested, definitely make sure you check out the game by downloading it and registering to jump in the action. Whether you're a Destiny veteran curious about how the universe translates to a new format, or a mobile player looking for a shooter that doesn't compromise quality for convenience, this game makes a strong case for itself.